Hey everyone, welcome to the Geo Community Call for April 27th. We have been crushing across the board with content over the last week. It's been really cool to see updates coming in, people posting on X, some great videos. Cool to see everything happening. Um, We've got our live leaderboard. Nice little reminder. I know we're not always doing things for the points, but sometimes we're doing things for the points. Great job to everyone who's been getting their proposals in and published and reviewed. Hopefully, you're seeing big differences in how quickly people are getting their proposals reviewed by editors. I've been making some improvements to our processes there. It's definitely something that we've been prioritizing, making sure that um, we are being faster at reviewing things and getting you points. Always open to feedback, and you can share more if you have feedback there. But that's been a big focus on the editor side. Um, we have gone through and cleaned up a lot of the bounties. And so initially, we had an initial set of bounties that we'd created across the spaces. They weren't necessarily serving anymore, as we were learning and the content was starting to solidify. We wanted to clean things up so that a new user could come in and see a set of bounties that are more applicable. And so I think this is now a clearer set of bounties across the different spaces, and we'll be adding more here. Um, and folks are adding bounties all the time now. So hopefully we're finding it easier to find bounties and that are good ones that are helpful. Um, and especially around kind of these initial spaces and use cases that we want to dive into and really focus in on. So let us know if you have any questions or feedback there, but hopefully that's another thing that is getting a little bit smoother. Um, cool. So why don't we start with today taking a look back at things that people have been publishing over the last week. Arturos, you want to give us a little tour?
Indeed. So just to share the screen here. And let's do a quick walkthrough. So a bunch of highlights for the health space. We have a space called Pharma now. So thank you, Kevin, for the work with this. So starting to organize. We have the ingredients, dose forms, a bunch of data. We had a lot of work has been done with organizing drugs in general. So we're getting really close to having a full-on proper decentralized drugs database. Still need to add some content to the tabs for better organization, but there's so much data now about drugs from multiple sources, high volumes. So we might start thinking of making some apps to better navigate the data, but decentralized drugs database is really getting there. So some work on there. Some highlights from Ivan, pediatric development milestones and screening checks. So some, I would say, practical good data. Social smile, I like that one. So practical information on, I say like also technical. It's medical stuff here. And Dini, who is also working diseases that have no cure. So that's an interesting work. That's as knowledge graph. First, we add all of the real knowledge that currently exists. The next step is actually creating new knowledge. So having diseases that are not yet cured, and we'll see if with better governance and goal setting, we can maybe participate in some of that. So this is an interesting step forward with that. So that's much on the health data set. Then a little bit on the crypto. So major crypto regulatory bills and acts. Let's take a look here. So we have a bunch of regulatory bills and acts here. So I see compliance, data enacted, effective date. So that's cool. Jurisdictions. I saw there were like multiple countries there. Switzerland, for example, regulatory authority, SEC. So checking by that, we'll be able to filter by any relation, right? So if we can check specifically which authorities are participating in which parts of the regulation. So a bunch of data there. And then in the AI space. So the AI space had quite a bit of work done. So first of all, shout out to Wid, who is listing the data centers. That's the big topic of AI, as we know. So having some interesting information there is cool. So we have the data centers. I see a county, a facility area, facility name, geometry type, latitude, a bunch of information. Operator. So it's interesting going to be see which operators are doing how well on the data centers. We can have a race, see how the race is going. Also, extra shout out to it again for working on the app based on the geo data on the data center. So if we can start having a map of where the data centers are by which operators, I think that's some interesting things to look out. That's in the development right now.
That's super cool. I wonder if we want to let people kind of demo their own apps if they're interested. If they say that they're not interested, then you can demo them, but maybe it's a fun thing for people to show.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely. This is just a quick overview. Like, we could should give some time for the curators to like explain a bit more. But so some great work there. Shout out Catalin, our editor. An editor. We do want editors to lead by example, as they do. So here is the initial entity page for OpenClaw, and we want this for all most important tools in AI, right? Some actual claims, which is a big thing on the knowledge graph, is like an entity that is a semantic statement about something. We can organize those and cite them with sources. So some information about origins, about functionality. We have the Geo is big on the news now, so we have our own news app. Here we can follow the news on any entity, including OpenClaw. If you're interested in OpenClaw, all of the news about it right here. And they're updated as they come. Team members, if you want to check on that, we have some information about the creator. And also, interestingly, and this is where we will be leaning into more, features, automation and task execution, multi-agent orchestration. So we will be able to filter for tools by features. So basically, you just need to understand what features you need, add the right combination of filters, and you'll see exactly which tools come up and how ranked are they. So this is something we want to work on more. Thanks, Catalin, for the work there. And we're going to have multiple bounties to do tool reviews, for example. That's a great way to do it. And we'll be just following similar standards so they can actually compare across different tools there. So that's some good work there. Farida, great work on creating a more rich profiles for people in the AI space. We have a few big personalities to start with. And so education, that's, interesting. Employment with past employment where they worked at. Gave talks. This is something we do want more and more. And this is thank you, Farida, for creating good examples. These are there's some actual curation happening, just like most important talks that, we think are big ones for that person for now. And at what event it was given, and we can actually see the talk itself. So, that's for both personalities right now. Published. So what kind of post, for example, Dario has published, and we can take a look at that. Some notable tweets. So roles that they have. So exactly what we asked is to create a good example of real data that's interesting about the person, and this is what we want to scale across more people based on the standards that we're setting with these. So thank you, Farida. That's some good work there. And then, yeah, so, and finally, a big update on our general content is that the World Affairs space is fully live. Thank you, Armando, for the imagery. Armando's an artist, so we can see, there's like definitely an aesthetic theme that we're observing here. So a bunch of topics that we'll be covering. Bounties are in the are already published. Anyone who's interested in the world affairs, please take a look. And some initial content going out already. So we have China Central Asia relations table. So we have some countries with some information about them. And this is the interesting ontological thing. So we can take a look at the bilateral relations entities between two countries. And here we see related institutions, related agreements for the relations of those countries, related projects around there, sector, and topics for classification. So definitely an interesting approach there. So this is by a person who, in our curator program, who is has some special expertise in it, having work experience with the I think embassies. Like Ahmed, you can add additional information about that. But so this seems like actually like fairly technical for a world affairs space, but I love it. So like having experts who actually can do a deeper dives and like really understand how this works is great. We will help to set up the ontology correctly so it would be scalable. And also then the next step is creating some cool dashboards to help to browse and understand that data, even for people who just want to understand, who are not experts. But that's a part of it, of Geo. Using Geo as a education platform for you to understand some things is a way to do that. So those are some of the highlights from the last week.
Cool. Awesome. Wow. What a tour. And they're all really developing really well in their own way. So great job, everyone. Preston, how are things on the product side?
Things are good. Last week we made a lot of updates to things that might not be as visible to you guys because you've already made your accounts. We're focusing on really improving user onboarding. Um, Made some updates to the space creation flow and a few other things. But the things that are probably more relevant is if you go to the activity tab here, you can see that we redesigned the activity tab to actually display the entities in a more viewable manner. It's more similar to how you see entities on the work panel. The other thing to note is in the UI, there's now inline tab editing. So you can actually just click the plus sign, add a new tab here. You just name it, and then you can add content to that tab. You can drag them to reorder them. So it's a much easier user interface there. And then on the Curator app, you'll also notice that you can leave comments on bounties now. So this would be a great opportunity to actually start collecting some of that conversation that previously was happening in Discord and actually having those conversations on the Curator app. And all of this comment information is immediately published to the knowledge graph. So it can kind of be sustained there, reviewed over time, and we can continue to improve. A few things that will be coming soon at the early parts of this week is previously you were only able to link a bounty on while you were reviewing edits here. So there's a little button here to link a bounty if you have bounties allocated to you. Now we'll be allowing bounties to be linked after they are submitted and even after they're executed. So if you forget to link a bounty or submit a bounty through the SDK, you should be able to now link that after it's actually published. That should be updated midweek, if not early this week. I will put a message in the products updates channel when it's ready. We'll also be doing a UI revamp on the data blocks feature, so they're a little bit easier to use on the app. And we'll be improving search. There's been a few notes in the Discord that sometimes when you post a property in your personal space, it sometimes is hard to find in search. So we'll be improving search to actually directly integrate or directly query your personal space, as well as the space you're in, to merge those results into search as well, make it a little bit more navigatable. And then the last thing is we'll be doing a personal space revamp. we're getting those designs finalized now, and we'll have them in probably in the next couple of weeks. So just a few things to look forward to there. As always, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ping me in Discord, and I will get you answers as soon as I can.
Cool. Yeah, great work on the product side. Hopefully you guys enjoy those new features. And yeah, we're spending a lot of our time starting to polish things up for new user onboarding because we are going to want to start another wave soon to bring on a next cohort of curators. So I think we've been doing a really great job polishing things up, both in terms of the product and process. But we're going to be excited to grow our community and start focusing on that soon. Um, Hopefully, also on the curator app side, we're going to see some improvements on the community calls this week. So, as usual, keep us posted and let us know if there are any issues. I think hopefully we finally addressed the drop issues. So let's see about that, and we're going to be working on better publishing beforehand and after the calls, details about the call. I know right now we still don't even have a really great discovery mechanism. We haven't been sharing the videos. That was a core part of the community calls feature. But we had a bunch of other things that ended up being higher priority, and we never got that fully polished. But hopefully around the end of this week, let's see, we'll be able to better see, all of the past calls for each space. You'll be able to see the videos, see who attended, that kind of information. So I think that's going to be really awesome to have. So something to look forward to. Cool. And Adam, any input on kind of future content directions?
Yes. Hi, everyone. So we've had quite a few people working on amazing projects, some new interesting demos. I think everybody's kind of well aware with the different priorities, and we have a lot of new bounties that have been discussed and distributed. Wanted to show you one little thing, but before that, also wanted to discuss a bit some of the content direction. So there is going to be a new theme this week for the kind of weekly challenge. We want all the curators to kind of be actively participating, and the theme this week is still going to be, or is going to be the Elon Musk and Sam Altman situation that is ongoing. Some of you might know that today the trial started between both of them. We think that's a really interesting topic for everybody to kind of publish, information, claims, sources, a bit the history, the background. So we'll be posting something in the Discord, giving you a clear framing of some of the things that we'd like to organize around that issue to allow anybody to participate in the weekly challenge. A kind of a short reminder of how that works. You can just publish to your own spaces along the lines of what we're going to be asking for. We're going to be a bit more, let's say, direct about some of the areas where we want people to publish in. And then you can publish on your X a post showing the data and the things, the story that you've posted, and tagging Geo. We'll explain that in the Discord, but we'd love for kind of, to see what both expert curators and the newer curators are able to publish on Geo. And a lot of the things that we've been doing as well have been around helping people publish with agents. I've personally been kind of dabbling and trying some things. As an example, this is what I was able to kind of publish today. Just tried to kind of get a bunch of information around Paris with some of my favorite kind of influencers and for example, food. A lot of I've have a few kind of sources that I like to look at in food, and I thought it'd be really cool to have all of the restaurants and all the addresses of my favorite Paris influencers. So there's quite a lot. This is just to give you an example. You can really publish quite easily now on Geo with the sources and the information that you were able to give. I'm very non-technical, and I was able to do this, just in a couple of hours this morning. And the cool thing is, once you have data that's published on Geo, you can vibe code a bunch of stuff. So this is what I vibe coded, for example, to get all of the different addresses so that you can kind of sort it, which part of Paris is it, what kind of cuisine is it, what the price is, whether it's higher end or not. And I was able to do like a little map with all of the addresses as well that was working earlier. Maybe it's broken now. So just kind of an encouragement from me, non-technical curator. If you want some help and some guidance, I'd be happy, or some of the editors would be happy to kind of help you set up those agents. We have a lot of resources that are being, added to the actual Geo, the left-hand bar, that you can kind of just feed your agents, and they'll be able to do a lot of publishing. But we'd love for you guys to kind of be curating some stuff. Give it a try in your personal space with this kind of Sam Altman versus Elon Musk trial. I think it's a great topic for you to kind of play around with that, and we'd love to see, what you guys are able to do. In other news, a lot of you have had some amazing demos, and we wanted to consolidate them somewhere where everybody can kind of see. So I built this little website which kind of shows a little bit all of the different demos that we've been able to put together. So there's the Geo apps that are built by our team, and then there's all of the demos that you guys have built. We really love the work that you've been doing. This is one of the demos that was shared this week by Dini. Really interesting kind of website that shows that, a lot of diseases still don't have a cure, with some really interesting data. We're going to put all of these demos on this URL, graphgeo.com. It's going to be kind of just a community-driven portfolio of all the projects that we have and that you guys are building. I'll drop the link in the chat if you guys want to go have a look. Yeah, just wanted to share that.
Killer. It's so awesome seeing it all in one place. Yeah, great work. It's been awesome seeing last week just how fast you've been able to work yourself using the new agent skills. If anyone hasn't checked it out yet on GitHub, under the Geo browser organization, we have a Geo skills repo, some basic skills there, and it's pretty cool what you can do just with agents. So really awesome apps there, and great direction. So one question for this week's challenge. What do we think the best spaces are for people to work on for that? So we're thinking people should publish to their personal spaces, or
Yeah, so I think the best thing is that we want this challenge to be a way for people to kind of, try publishing on Geo, and show us what they're able to do and what they're able to build. The best, data, the best stories, etc., will be able to kind of move them onto the public spaces. We see this just as so the idea is publish on your personal space. Some of these, we're sure are going to go get published on the public spaces. So for this one, it would probably go into World Affairs, for example. We'll help you move that if we want to move it at some point.
Cool, sounds good. How has the workflow been working for just creating the new spaces and publishing to those like subspaces? Has that helped people feel a little bit more comfortable in their publishing? Has that been a good improvement?
Definitely, yes. Ability to publish to subspaces or personal spaces basically remove the bottleneck of the ontology, right? So now you don't need to get an approval from a person every time you want to add maybe our experiment with a new property. So we can see the entire data sets, and then we can take a look at it. I would say maybe right now the main thing to consider is first the review process from the editor perspective. We would need to think, okay, so if there is a data that's, let's say in a subspace or in a personal space, what would be the exact flow for the editor to now take the data and have an AI to, let's say, take a look at that data, right? And like shoot some prompts at, hey, can we review some of the factual accuracies there?
That's right.
Um,
We do have a work stream that we're currently working on for improving the editor review process. So that's something that's been actively worked on.
yeah. And the other point is that I feel like where's like still like it's not as bad, but still a friction point. Once let's say a curator does publish content to the, let's say, a health data set space or like any of these subspaces, but they still need to actually go in and create the tables with their data set. And they still need to find like the right place for those tables. So there is a bit of a friction there. I think we could maybe add maybe some guidance on that. We did write up some manuals on how to create tables and how to filter by them. But if someone is publishing, many different data sets for the same bounty, it's something to think about.
So we're gonna have some exciting updates there as well that I'm not gonna spoil the surprise, but could hopefully help with that.
Okay,
Cool.
yeah. So
So it sounds like we did get in the chat people saying that the new workflow was improved with the subspaces. So that's great. Now we do have changes that are going to be coming in the search that Preston alluded to. So we recognize it may not be 100% right now. I think the current behavior is probably when you publish stuff to, some subspace, that it still shows up in the search. And so it might be getting a little noisy. I don't know whether or not it is, but that's an area that we're going to be looking to kind of dial things in. So the current plan, and I think there's going to be a lot of details to hammer out. But when you just publish to some space, that is not going to show up in the search, the entity search for other people, unless it's like explicitly brought in. But it should work so that while you're working on that space, everything works as normal and you can search for the entities and stuff like that. So the idea is to kind of create these little isolated sandboxes. You can work in there quickly. It's not going to affect everybody else. And then there could be a process where you take that space and you make it part of the public graph, right? And governance will be part of that. And then it becomes discoverable. But I think that'll be the right type of balance of letting you move more quickly. You can still share the link around. People can check it out. They can review. And then there's a more methodical process to bring it in. Does that sound good with everybody? Cool. Um, all right. Before we go into more deeper discussion, does anybody have any demos other than what we've seen so far that they would want to share with the group?
I can show something.
Sure. Let's do it.
Give me a second, please. I played a bit with the people type.
All right. Well, you can see.
So this is the Elon Musk page. I added claims about, I added general claims about him on the overview page. And a bit of his work history and education history. Then we have a news tab. A media tab with the podcast, episodes that we have. An education tab with claims about his education and then what institution he attended. Then we have a career tab with claims about the companies that he worked on. They are not all of them because there's too many. Then we have a personal life tab with some claims about him.
Nice. It's looking good.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, I mean, so I think this would be an interesting area to maybe discuss a little bit. So we have the People app, and it was really just kind of a demo, and I really just did it with my own profile, but it should be able to toss in different IDs to kind of browse different people as well. But in order to have that like standardization, right, so that you can have like a people app and browse for everyone, we do at some point we'll want to really converge on the ontology that we use for people. It looks like you're probably using a lot of the same ones that we've already defined, but I mean, person is such a core entity, and so I'm curious to maybe have some discussion around whether we think we got that right or not. As an example, interestingly enough, so if I'll share my screen a little bit here. I just tossed in Elon's entity into this people app, and so we can see that the key contributions jumped straight up because I guess we were using the same properties or relation types, I should say, for those. And then it looks like it probably got the X in the website. See if that maybe there's an issue with the way that we link to that. So to see, the work is not showing up here. And the education, it's showing the institutions. And these looks like didn't exactly come in right. So I think this is a matter of standardization, probably. And it's not to say that at the beginning I picked the exact right properties for everything. Maybe we could say that it was like a proposal, but I think it's nice that as people experiment, maybe we get a better feel, and that can inform where we land. Let's just check one more, and then looks like Adam's got a question. But so here for Sam Altman, we pull this up. So Artur's is showing that. This looks like it's probably the actual image. It's just maybe a strange image that we chose for this. So for Sam Altman, it shows his description, his roles there, works on a key contribution. So this is showing up. For work, it does show the work history and education. Nice. So it looks like this one was using the same properties. Now, again, I don't know whether this is good or bad. This is awesome. So again, I had chosen an initial ontology, but I think these are the sorts of things that are great for discussion, and maybe we can jump into that. First, Adam, do you have a comment or question?
Yeah, I just had a comment which I find kind of interesting because one of the interesting things is going to be to be able to map, people to what they're saying, what their views are, to their claims and stuff. It feels like we don't have anywhere to actually display that because we're probably extracting a bunch of claims from the podcasts themselves and from the things. Is there a place where we could almost like use an AI to maybe like summarize, their views on certain topics or something? Like that could
You're
be kind of
referring to the People app?
to the People app or even on like on the People's on what Catalin was showing. I guess there's nowhere where we can kind of view like the claims that they've done, and because that would be probably like an important thing to attach the person's to like the entity of the person.
Well, it's almost certainly attached. Maybe Arturis, maybe you could show us some examples of, with claims, because I know we have sources, and then we also have quotes. So oftentimes the claims are linked to the quotes, and the quotes are linked to, is it usually I guess it's not the person, it's an author, right? Is that right?
Yes. So for the quotes, we haven't leaned into the quotes yet as much. So we can take a look at, for example, how we're currently doing that. The news story is is a good example.
I guess this is before we jump in. So yeah, Catalin, great share. Thanks for that demo. Sorry, just as it jumped right in because it got me thinking. This is good. Yeah, we can keep going.
Okay, so right now claims are probably mostly used in the news stories, but this is something that we do want to use as much as possible throughout the entire knowledge graph. So right now we have a claim and it has a source so we can source with multiple sources for any of the claims. That's the current approach mostly. The one level more than that would be the claims with having quotes from those sources. And then the source would have, so then if we take a look at the quote type, so we have some quotes that are currently exist. For example, so here is the quote that comes from a source. So, and I see that, so there's like, I think it's some bounty that's not yet completed. So, but we do see like, okay, so this claim right here. So this is an example of that. So here's a claim. It says something, right? And here is a quote that supports that claim. And then the source would be kind of a roll up. If there is a quote supporting the claim and the quote is coming from a source, that source also supports obviously the claim.
What's the can we see that quote?
Yeah. So, but I think it's not yet finished. Like I don't see the data here.
So I think we should be. Oh, so one thing that I've noticed, by the way, I don't know where this is coming from. If you open that, I feel like a lot of the people that have been publishing right now don't have profiles set up for their spaces, right? So if you expand that again, if we look at the history, I don't know if was this was maybe from our
I think
news.
this not be our
Okay,
news
so
one.
that's a known thing. Yeah, so I think we're going to try to fix that. If anyone else has, just always make sure
we're
that
fixing this.
you have profiles for the accounts you're publishing from. Okay, so I think authors is probably the relation type we want to use. So yeah, it's something we should be able to do here. Okay, so is this just a collection?
It's on your collection.
It's a what?
For now, it's on your collection.
Yeah, okay. So this is a collection of quotes, but it's a good point. I mean, in a sense, the fact that this is a collection on the Elon Musk entity page already creates kind of like a relation, but it's not like a well-typed relation, right? I guess you don't really have the semantics of that. So it is better to know that he's the author of a quote, or it's an
I was
interesting question
thinking,
whether you'd want to have a relation directly to the claim or just through the quote. I think it's fair to have both or either, right? So it's like, people that support this claim or something like that. And again, but I guess the problem is once you do that, maybe it does create a little bit of like a nest. So, maybe it's a messier web to go back to the quote of like, well, where did it come from in the attribution?
So these are the properties that the claims have. These are like sort of general properties there. I would say this is like kind of good. And this would like for the first level ontology, like keeping it not too complex. I feel like this is good, right? Like any claim, you can have like people that are referenced in the claim, projects referenced, topics. So you can create many tables with like proper filters, so let me see all of the claims about, Elon Musk. Like what the people is going to be Elon Musk on a claim, and that are maybe, have something to do with, and topics can be AI. So, okay, so all of the claims made by Elon Musk about AI, right? So that could actually give us like a good, interesting list of claims. There are subtopics, AI, problems, or, AGI, and we'll be able to do that. So I think that's a kind of good. One of the thing about claims is that, the reason why we like originally like had like the type claim, it is that, we want the data be interconnected, and we want to help like people to like go through like, like navigate this through the, find the signal in the conversations. So anytime something happens, like something big happens, right? Like a new news broke. So now everyone goes on X and posts their opinion, and there are patterns of those opinions, right? In reality, there are like maybe 10 opinions, and then like there are 10,000 people expressing those opinions in their own words. So a claim is supposed to kind of capture that one opinion, and that everyone else like have their own quote that they're an author of, that they like expressed about that. So that was like one of the original ideas behind the claim. So probably like supporting quotes, but then also supporting posts might be another like addition there. And then it would make sense, like, basically in any space, there should be like a claim is a high level statement that many people can support. And, and if I support this claim, I should be able to throw my hat in the ring, like I am pro this claim. People who maybe oppose it, they should be able to throw the hat in the ring as
Yeah.
opposing.
So do we think we're getting to an answer there?
I think so. I think so. I think like these properties are good. One thing that is like still, I would say, under question from the ontology standpoint, it is citations, right? So one thing that we should also kind of understand. So if we go to any of these entity pages, any content is like, or any property filled in, it is also a statement. So let's say. So let's do the OpenClaw as an example. So let's say OpenClaw has properties like provided services, like and these like the use cases. So the fact that an OpenClaw has persistent memory and context, it's a property here. But actually the Catalan, when he added this here, he also made a claim. He made a statement. He made a statement that OpenClaw has the persistent memory and context. How can we cite that on the knowledge graph? Like this right here is a statement. Like so, probably we should use maybe relations for that. So I should be able probably to add the links like sources here directly, right? Like
Well,
that support
in a
this.
sense, I mean, the first thing is if you go back to that relation, and now you see in the history. So if you open that, oh, I don't know why there would be no history here. So this is something for us to fix. But what I would imagine is if Catalan published this relation, it should show up there. And so that's kind of what you're saying, right? In this case, if just the fact that he published it is him making the claim, then that's part of the history that you can see. Now, if in addition he wants to cite where did this come from, the source could be an additional property here. So that's if the source is different from the publisher.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that we're currently thinking of, and I think like this is like probably the next like if we have to like solve one ontological challenge, maybe for in the upcoming couple of weeks, it's just to set up a good flow for general citation on the content. There are like a few questions around that. Like I'll be able to maybe prepare like a quick memo on that, but. There are like a few ways to like the thing is like knowledge graph is extremely flexible as a way to store knowledge, and there's always multiple ways to answer these questions. So we might take a look at that and make a commitment.
Sounds good. So going back to the people question, so Arjus, I don't know if you remember when we were looping in Manu, he had some feedback on the people ontology. I can't find that right now, but one of the key questions that I keep going back and forth on, and it's worth a group discussion, is worksat and worked at being two separate relation types, versus using something like employment as the relation type that would include past and future like roles. This one's a little bit tough, and because there's different things that you're optimizing for. So this one you have employment, and then if you click on the relation, does that have the additional information on the relation?
Like this, yep.
Yeah, exactly. So super cool. This is a great use of relations, right? So here's a description of now actually this is not a great use of the relation. Well, okay, interesting. Because I guess what you're doing is on the description, and it could be maybe there's a few different things. And maybe we're thinking here about how we want it to display. So if you imagine having, Sam's work history and it pulling the description from this relation to display on that block, then maybe this is what you'd want to see. And this actually gets to a bigger feature that we're going to be re-implementing soon, which is called relation data blocks. So today when you create a data block, you select types and it renders entities. But sometimes you want to basically display a block, and we don't have to go there now, it's okay, but you want to display a block of relations, right? So let's say like show me all of Sam Altman's employment relations. And usually when you do that, you may want to include information from either side of that relation, right? So if I have a data block and I want to show, everywhere that Sam Altman has worked at or is going to work at, I could create a relation data block, but I might want to pull some information like about Sam, right? Which would be like the from entity in that relation. Or I might want to pull some information about OpenAI, which would be the to entity in that relation. And I want to show that in the block. So that's what we call relation data blocks. If you go back to the relation, um, so
Let's hear
semantically,
this one. Yeah, let's do the Sam Altman one.
so semantically, the description on that employment relation, you would think would really be information about like what Sam did in that role.
Mhm.
Right. So really the description for this relation, I would think should be, Sam Altman was the CEO of Y Combinator where he did X, Y, Z, right? Something like that.
Yep.
And then, okay, employment status is former, end date, roles, start date. So that looks perfect. And then essentially the point is, let's say that we created a relation data block where we showed everywhere that Sam worked. Maybe we want to make it past tense so we could add the filter based on, right, the employment status. And you wanted to show information about Y Combinator. That could be that feature of the relation data block I was referring to, where it's like, you should be able to pull into the to entity description instead of the relation description. And so you could choose what you want to show. So that's relation data blocks we'll be working on. So this is a slight tweak that I would make based on this. And it could be that this was the natural thing to do because we didn't have relation data blocks yet. But okay, so back to this question of employment versus works at and worked at. So if you go now to Sam Altman's page, I tend to feel like when you're looking at the properties panel, it's nice to have them split. Now, what I've sometimes found is a new user comes in and doesn't really know necessarily what they're looking at. And sometimes when I'm like, hey, put down the company that you work at, sometimes they put it in the like worked at, field because they're not really looking at the difference. Um,
Mhm.
Now that could just be that could be they're on the spot, but that's just something that I've noticed. Um, but to me, they're so different semantically that at least in the properties panel, I kind of like to see it split out. But the issue is, I mean, then you're like removing relations, adding relations, and maybe that's okay because I guess I mean the nature of the relationship changed. But then, especially if a lot of the information is on the relation, right? It's like all that changes, you're adding an end date and you're switching the status. Is it right to kind of delete it and create a new one versus like everything else is the same? You have a description, you have all of this stuff, and I don't know. So does anyone have thoughts
So,
on that?
yeah, I would say there are multiple ways to group properties. One way it's, for example, what kind of types it links to, or like what information it gives. One other way to do it is to organize properties by how much effort they require to upkeep. And the more semantically broad the property, the easier it is to upkeep, right? So employment is easy to upkeep because you just add all of the companies that the person worked at, right, and works in, and it's all correct. Like it's factually correct property without maintenance. If you have a property called now works at, now this is an example of a dynamic property, and this is a property that you have to keep, basically your eyes on. If the person changes jobs, now if you won't change that the same day, you're going to have factually incorrect information on the knowledge graph. So
I guess
my
you could argue that that remains the case even when it's the single relation because like the values are no longer correct.
um, even if it's a single, well, for
Yeah,
example, here.
because right, it would have like an employment status of like current and like they're no longer, or active or whatever. They're no longer currently employed.
So the relation would still, it's good to keep up to date, but the at least like here, right
I
here,
guess the
like this
top level
segment.
isn't out of date.
Yeah. So basically it's kind of having strategies of how we maintain these. So
Okay, that's a good consideration. Does anyone else have thoughts on this? Should do a little vote. You want to go continue with other considerations?
I kind of prefer employment. It looks like more aligned with what consumers are used to.
You think like basically, so it would combine past and present,
Yes, like
right?
the splitting is, as you were saying, like if you're not taking care of the small details between worked at and works at, you can easily mistake. You can easily not understanding why at first glance why you have two property instead of one. I think like if we want to mimic other employment functionality in other website, employment is maybe more accurate, more natural for consumers.
And then we would have just maybe the different data blocks that are part of the templates that would maybe split those out.
Well, yeah, the other thing is you wouldn't need different relation data blocks because if you had works at and worked at, you'd need two relation data blocks to input your work history. Whereas if you just have one, you can just have one data block. It's a little bit simpler for the user.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess that is actually how it works usually. Like in LinkedIn, it's just like a single feed, right? It would be like a list view, including it just show your current at the top, but in a single feed. So that's a good point. Okay, so it sounds like based on all of this, people are maybe then converging towards employment instead of these two separate relation types.
real quick, if I want to create a table to see which people are currently work at OpenAI, what filters do I use? What's the type and filters? Like list of people who work at OpenAI.
Yeah. You're saying if we'd switch to employment, what would it be? Or right
Yeah,
now?
yeah.
Okay,
Like let's say if,
so it would be show me now if you want all of the people. I guess the thing is right now we don't have the way to do these nested filters. So if you started on the relation and you said query all the employments where the to entity is OpenAI and the status of the employment is current.
yeah, or the end date is empty.
Right. Yeah. So you could do that.
Okay, so that would be a sort of, okay, so that would be a way to do it. And also, I would say, so I agree, I think, with Armando on the employment stuff, that it is a easy property to maintain. It's clear. Maybe just one thing, like just like the word itself, like when I see a word employment, like I could kind of assume that this is where the person currently works at. Just like, it's just like the name
I
of the
agree. I
property.
think that's the issue I have.
Yeah, like all work, and work history would also not work because it's includes the current work. So like we would need like a
Exactly.
really good name.
Exactly. This has been a tough one. That's the thing. We solved all the easy ones and we're left with all the tough ones that like it's not a perfect answer.
Yeah, like and also in a perfect world, like we would have like a basic properties. Okay, like whatever the word is here, like all projects like contributed to or something. And then I would maybe like click on the property and expand it, and it will see like worked at, works at, etc. Basically, it's,
Yeah.
but
We also have a worked on like to support the app for the product and service people specifically develop. If you go to
Yeah.
the Almadi, or on Yanni's profile, it will look like worked on.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would say,
Okay, so we can check that out. That might be another property thing. So, I'm going to create a Discord group for the People app, and maybe we can continue this conversation there. And
That's
so
good.
as people are now filling out more detailed profiles, which is really awesome to see for people, I think that's going to be a really valuable place. We can make that, useful through the People app. We need to just align really on the ontology. There's a few interesting questions like this. So let's do it there, and we'll know that we succeeded when everybody shows up in a really great way inside of the People app. And also you go to their pages in Geo and everything looks good. Seems like we're well on our way. Cool. Well, awesome work across the board. Thank you everyone for joining us today, for publishing great content on Geo. It's really awesome to see all of the demos throughout the week, see everybody's work on X. So please keep up the great work, and see y'all here next week. Thanks everyone.
Bye.